Fox News alert, we're less than an hour away from the president's address to the nation about epic fury, as the Pentagon reportedly planning for two potential ground assaults, an operation to seize the country's crown jewel, Karg Island, and another one to capture Iran's highly enriched uranium. Both missions, high risk, high reward, and could be the final blow to make the mullahs surrender. The Pentagon just doubled its fleet of A-10 Warthogs to the Middle East. That could indicate a ground assault is imminent. These supersonic attack aircraft fire 70 30-millimeter shells a second. They fly slow and low to the ground, conducting strafing runs against enemy infantry and seacraft. The A-10s would provide close air support for a ground operation. But who knows what could happen? The president wants to be unpredictable and have a lot of options. On top of that, the USS Tripoli's in theater, and its 3,500 sailors and Marines are staying sharp and maintaining peak warfighting readiness in case they get the go call. An Ohio-class submarine moving into the Mediterranean has the capability to secretly insert SEAL teams close to shore to conduct raids and sabotage. This is where peace talks stand. Here's the commander-in-chief. Quote, Iran's new regime's president, much less radicalized and far more intelligent than his predecessors, has just asked the United States of America for a ceasefire. We will consider when the Hormuz Strait is open, free, and clear. Until then, we are blasting Iran into oblivion, or, as they say, back to the Stone Ages. The Iranians don't just want the ceasefire, they need it. Their economy has just weeks of oxygen left. They're saying in 3 weeks it could face a complete and total collapse. Inflation's over 70%. The currency's collapsing, and half the country's unemployed. Remember, Iran had to use deadly force to put down an uprising last year because the economy was so bad. Now it's 10 times worse. When this war's over, we could see more violent unrest. Their steel plants are getting blown to shreds. Their defense plants, R&D and nuke facilities too. And their firepower down to a trickle. Yesterday, the mullahs only fired off 3 ballistic missiles at Israel. That's down from 170 at the onset of the war. And their kamikaze drones, we reverse engineered them and have been striking their manufacturing plants steadily. These drones are cheap, easy to make. We call them the Toyota Corolla of drones. Meanwhile, Iran's drone attacks are down 83%. Underground, reports of a fracture between Iran's president and the Guard trying to consolidate power. And there's infighting over whether or not to take a deal. The Iranians know they're up against the clock and have to surrender, but they're worried about showing weakness in the neighborhood and domestically. Remember, it's a police state, and any sign of weakness invites a coup or a revolution. Retired Lieutenant General H.R. McMaster says the regime's already a dead man crawling. Thousands of missiles are raining down on them, and the population isn't buying what they're saying. It's clear who holds the cards.
What President Trump is not going to allow is he's not going to allow fake negotiations to be used as a delay tactic, to buy more time, to buy themselves space. That's what he's not going to allow. So we'll always be prepared to talk, but we're not going to allow that or the failure of talks to impede our ability to defend this country and to protect this country from a real threat.
The United States learned a lesson in North Korea. Time's not on our side. Diplomacy's critical, but it can be used to seduce a superpower into believing it's in control until a rogue state shocks the world with a nuke.
They were aiming to become the next North Korea, except not a North Korea run by, a regime that, is troublesome and hard to understand, but an Iran run by radical Shia clerics with intercontinental missiles that could reach the mainland of the United States eventually.
The president's expected to outline tonight the definition of victory and what we've achieved in 4 weeks. We've struck over 12,000 targets, and we only have a few thousand left. Iran's Navy, Air Force, and air defense gone. Their missiles have been severely degraded, and their defense industrial base obliterated, so it can't rearm. Iran's proxies have been pummeled, and decapitation strikes continue to target leadership. Last night, the IDF took out one of the country's top engineers. He's responsible for building underground sites for Hezbollah and Assad. And Netanyahu says after hitting 100% of enemy targets, Israel believes the Iranians no longer pose a threat. Iran should have taken the deal a month ago. Now they can no longer use their military to build a fortress around their secret nuclear program. The program is still alive, barely. The commander-in-chief is considering a Hollywood-style extraction raid, flying in a battalion, excavation teams, and either destroying or flying out what's left of their yellow cake. Or the Iranians can cut a deal and they'll have to negotiate the future of their nuclear ambitions while they're at their weakest position in modern history. Other options? We mow the grass. Meaning there's a ceasefire, and a few months later, if we see activity, we go back in and drop a bunker buster. You know, just maintain the grass so that it doesn't grow taller. Reuters asked the president about the uranium, quote, "That's so far underground, I don't care about that. We'll always be watching it by satellite." So everything's on the table. The president using a lot of misdirection to keep the gay Ayatollah guessing. And even Wall Street, who took it on the chin in March, is on board. Here's Jamie Dimon.
They've been killing people around the world for 45 plus years. They've killed a lot of Americans. They funded not just Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis. They have terror cells here. They were about to get their ballistic missiles. Does it create all this uncertainty? Absolutely. Does it create more short-term risk for the oil prices? Absolutely. I'm praying it ends well. But having those folks, their throat on the Straits of Hormuz, and funding all these proxy wars, why the Western world put up these proxy wars for 45 years, is kind of beyond me.
The only ones not on board? The Europeans. The Brits say they're only sending in the Royal Navy when the hostilities are over.
Whatever the pressure on me and others, whatever the noise, I'm going to act in the British national interest in all the decisions that I make. And that's why I've been absolutely clear that this is not our war, and we're not going to get dragged into it.
Trump dismissed the prime minister, saying, he says, I'm not going to tell him what to do. He can do whatever he wants. Doesn't matter. All Starmer wants is costly windmills that are driving your energy prices through the roof. The Germans said, it's not our war. The French won't let us use their airspace. And the Italians and Spanish are being a little persnickety with their bases. So we've saved the continent from 2 world wars, 2, bailed them out with the Marshall Plan, armed Ukraine, and now we can't use a base that we paid for while we're finishing off the world's #1 state sponsor of terror and opening up a strait where the Europeans get a quarter of their oil and we get nothing. Rubio's starting to ask questions.
Why are we in NATO? You have to ask that question. Why do we have billions and billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars, over the years, trillions of dollars, and all these American forces stationed in the region? If we can only use, in our time of need, we're not going to be allowed to use those bases.
The president's thinking twice about NATO, too. He says he's considering leaving it. And tonight, Trump's expected to blast them in prime time, saying, quote, I'll be discussing my disgust with NATO. They haven't been friends when we needed them. We never asked them for much. It's a one-way street. Behind the scenes, the Europeans are panicking. They're telling each other that an economic crisis of the scale of COVID's coming. And they're just sitting on their hands waiting for Trump to reopen the strait and bail them out again. Meanwhile, the Iranians are launching drones at British tankers off the strait, and their missiles can hit London, not New York. America's sick of being Europe's sugar daddy and getting nothing in return.
We depend very little on the Strait. So this, if in fact Iran decides to set up a toll, if in fact Iran decides that they're going to illegally control the Straits of Hormuz or decide they're going to try to do that, look, I imagine that'll be the president's call whether he wants to help. But this is a problem for the world. It's countries around the world should be stepping up and dealing with that and saying that's intolerable. And that's what we've encouraged them to do.
The president's convinced that once the operation's over, the strait will open, either by force, for an armada, under a ceasefire, or it opens naturally when the United States Navy leaves. 47 says this is the final phase. Gas prices will go down when it winds down. The next hours, the next days will be very decisive. As the president likes to say, we'll see what happens. Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.